Hey Guru Nation, I'm here in the office at Yuma Clinical Trials with Ray and Katie. And thank you very much, Medici Medical Research in Florida, for the gift. Thank you. Alright, you didn't have to do it, but you guys know where I'm at, okay? Yuma Clinical Trials. Okay, so I got off a Zoom with a tech vendor. They don't understand coordinator life. You guys are coordinators more so than I am at this point. All the different kind of queries a coordinator gets. Like, there's queries that are your fault. Maybe we overlooked something, or maybe we forgot. Maybe we put the wrong visit. But then there's queries that are not our fault. And I'm not even talking just EDC. I'm talking like all the vendors we have, right? ECG, lab. Sometimes, Ray, you were saying, like, we send the blood sample to the lab and they still will tell us we didn't send it, right? Like, can you explain, like, maybe that example?
Yeah, like a lot of times it has to do with a specific form. Like maybe even if the forms, I'm actually doing one right now, they look exactly the same, but one says version 1, the other one says version 3. So I'd have to redo the query and redo it because I didn't use version 3, even though they look exactly the same.
And what, you don't have to mention the vendor name, but what kind of portal is that one? Like, what is it? Is it a ePro, a ECG, a lab? Which one? What is that one for? EDC? It's not EDC.
No, it's a IRT.
IRT. Okay. So that's one example. What about when we send a lab and we know we did, and then they send us a report saying, what, you didn't send it?
Yeah, they were saying like we didn't request the right form. And that one we're actually still trying to figure out what they meant because there's only one form for the screening that we do, and it's been consistent with every single screening we've had so far. So we're not sure where they got that from, that we didn't request the right testing. So,
What other queries, Katie? EDC, ECG.
I do a lot of the EDC queries. So most of them are just, since we have two different sources, we have an e-source and then the EDC that were provided by the sponsor. You have to little copy and paste what's on your e-source into the EDC, and a lot of queries are automated, like, oh, it looks like you messed up this time, or there's like specifically for one of our studies, we have a spray time versus the time administered, and sometimes those two times get messed up because you have to administer it before you can spray their knee or something like that. And then we also get the medical monitor that's on the EDC, and they'll want specifics on like certain medications or certain issues that people have. Like, I didn't think this was like a medical thing, but like menopause is something they want on the patient's list thing of medical history, and mostly little stuff like that. We haven't gotten anything that's really like majorly like we definitely messed that up or anything like that. It's usually just small stuff.
Yeah, and then there's queries like that's the EDC queries, right? And then there's like ECG ones too, where sometimes it's you put the wrong visit, or maybe you just write it differently. Last question for both of you. These people asked, like, what's the biggest pain point for a coordinator?
Pain point?
Yeah.
Like, what sucks the most?
Yeah.
I think just doubling down on and putting in the e-source in the EDC, because it's just a pain in the butt to do.
Yeah, fair enough. How about you? Biggest pain point?
The biggest pain point for me is when we are on top of the things that we need to be on top of. However, one of the vendors is behind. So they keep querying the same thing that we've already done. And because they're so behind, so it makes us have to stop and go back and make sure and resubmit it again. So that's the biggest pain
Was
for me.
this like ECG or which one?
Yes, it's for ECG. We get the same ones, or they'll send the same query over and over because they're so behind that they don't realize that, oh, this was sent right away, this was done right away. But
Okay.
they're so behind that we have to be behind too sometimes. We have to go back and find that query we did and resubmit it again.
The reason I ask is all these tech companies are trying to make your lives easier. But I tell them, like, a lot of these things I don't think you can solve.
Yeah,
It's a lot of sponsor things, and like again,
Human
along
error.
with that, like having to send in the blood work or sending the X-rays or something, and having to wait until you can complete that visit, and having to go back. That sucks too.
All right. Thank you, guys. There you go. You heard it from someone else, not just me. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Thank you again, Medici Medical Research. We appreciate it. We'll eat some right now. Bye-bye.